That is the most that is the most hairless individual I think you'll ever lay eyes on.
Andrew Tennigan, ladies and gentlemen. Andrew Tennigan.
Andrew Tennigan.
Oh,
So,
man.
Andrew, if you're watching this, I mean, there's a reason I literally called him a fish.
God. I mean, N had to go into his Facebook to find that.
It's on there still. You would
How does
think
it
he
feel
would
that
have
you were
taken it off by now.
How does it feel that you were Facebook stalking somebody, N?
Yeah, it was Facebook stalking. See, it was part of the group chat, and it was something that had to be done.
No, it definitely did. I don't know why you would have that on social media.
I don't know either, but ladies and gentlemen, it's another episode of Who Are These Guys? It's a new year. It's a new year of Who Are These Guys? Never forget the Arizona Cardinals drafted Deion Buchanan, and all you hear is,
"Oh!" Yeah. Yeah, real quick. So, yeah, Happy New Year. Today's January 2nd. Happy New Year.
2024. It's absolutely disgusting.
Yeah. And, well, again, we actually, I'm not going to get to that part. Anyways, moving on. So, yeah, if you guys have always wondered what, where the big, who comes from, it's 2014. And some of the other boys were over for the NFL draft. Cardinals were picking late in the first round, and they came up and they took safety out of Washington State, Deion Buchanan. And then my dad was like, "Who?"
Don Bledsoe.
Yeah, Don Bledsoe. Oh God, there's just so many things we could talk about.
There really is. There really is, and that was obviously a failure of a first-round pick.
My God, yeah. If you guys don't know who Deion Buchanan is, he was like a hybrid safety / linebacker. He had a couple of good years. Yeah. And then, it just he was pretty ass after that.
Yeah,
he
see
was
you later.
pretty ass.
So, but yeah, as you guys can see, it's a new year. I wanted to, actually, this was kind of last minute when I edited this overlay for our podcast. So it's freshened up. It's brand new. I don't have to go into the editing either now and add on top of our video the border of our podcast. This is just really strictly on there. So when we hop on, it's already ready to go. So that's actually going to make things even easier for me. But hopefully you guys like it. Soon we are going to be having a new background on my end where we're going to have a whole upgraded look in the back. Probably next time that Z and I do a video, you guys will see that. So I'm excited to introduce that. But we're doing a video, as you can tell by the thumbnail. Hold on, Z, just so they know. By the thumbnail, we're going to be talking about the horrific NFL MVP race this season. That's what we're going to be talking about. So,
here Z, we go.
Go ahead.
There we go.
What were you saying, Chicken Little? What were you saying?
Yeah, Chicken Little. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna address the elephant in the room. If anybody hasn't noticed it, my face is swelling again. Yeah. And then I talked about it pre-recording, and there's really not much to say about it. There's not much to say about it.
So by the time you guys see other videos, you might have a brand new face again.
Yeah, you're right. If you guys
might be his name's Zach, but you might as well start calling him Efron.
Yeah, Efron. Yeah, I'm not sure who's the guy who has more nicknames, me or my dog.
I mean, it still might be Bernard. I mean, he's at about 22, 23.
Something like that.
But Z's up there though, because Zac Efron has a new face about every couple months, and Z might be treading that direction.
Yeah. If you guys didn't check out our video where like Z has a new face, that was me after my wisdom teeth surgery, and and like you can very clearly see the swelling on my face. I mean, it looks like I had like 18 cheeseburgers in my mouth then.
Oh, you might have wished you did too.
Yeah, I probably wish I did. Yeah. But here we are, January 2nd. And how was your New Year?
Didn't really do too much. Z didn't really do too much. Freaking Quail was over, and we went to. What did we do? Picked him up, and we what did we do? Went out to eat at went to Pickles actually. Went out to eat at Pickles.
Oh my God.
And see, it was actually good. The bun was warm, bun was crisp. Got the wings I usually get, and they weren't too bad.
Ass.
Man, it's definitely not. I think Z just had a bad batch.
I think we've told this story about 3 times in the podcast. If you guys are new to the podcast, we just had our most watched video. in our last video. So appreciate everybody that watched
Yeah,
that. That
thank
I
you guys for your
almost
support
got
on that one.
almost got us to 200 views there. So that's our biggest one yet for sure.
Yeah.
Talking about Call of Duty. Call of Duty is alive. Call of Duty is not dead, right? But this video is not about Call of Duty. Um, this video is about the who's going to win the MVP and why Lamar Jackson is going to win the MVP and why Lamar Jackson is going to win the Super Bowl MVP.
It's gonna be a fun discussion, guys. I think it'll be a fun discussion at the
Yep.
end of the day. But
Yep.
yeah, Z was pretty much did that. Went up to Permanis to watch some of the Cowboys and Lions game, and then we went to the
Awful
casino.
refing. Awful refing.
It was, and they're gonna be
My
reffing the
God.
Steeler and Raven game on Saturday night. But they
Well,
are,
and
from what I read, that they're not allowed to ref a playoff game this year.
right. Well, and what are you gonna do if Brad Allen ruins a call for the Steelers to make the playoffs?
Yeah, yeah. Well, Z, there's nothing I can do. Honestly,
No.
I'm at the point too where I'm actually ready for the season just to end.
God.
Like, I really
I
am.
mean,
But
I mean, by the way, can we talk about that real quick? I mean, I was talking to at work a couple Cowboys fans, and they're like, well, don't send multiple linemen to the ref, and I'm like, what does that even mean? Because like
yeah,
you can't send one lineman because then the Cowboys are gonna know who is eligible,
right,
and it was a very very well thought of to send three linemen towards the referee.
right,
And you had Dan Campbell say in the press conference that he told Brad Allen before the game this was going to happen.
right,
And then you clearly see in the video Brad Allen
right.
shake his head towards Taylor Decker.
Yep,
And
yep,
then next thing you know, he catches the ball and he throws a flag.
yeah. He throws a flag, and then he defends his decision and pretty much lies.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
and it's a fireable offense. That's what it is.
absolutely it is. But Z, enough. He's not
Yeah.
going to get fired. He's
No, he's
not
not.
going to get fired. These players get reprimanded for speaking their opinion and their
Yep.
feelings on poor officiating. Now think about it, Z.
Yep.
What if that was a game for the Lions to what if the NFC North division was very, very tight?
Yep.
And that was a game for the Lions to possibly take the lead in that division, and then they just got to win next week and win the division.
Well, what I saw on Twitter, somebody brought up a great point, was the fact that what that game potentially was is that one single man and Brad Allen took away potentially the Lions having a chance at the number one seed in the
Mhm.
NFC,
Yep.
having a chance to have just more. Detroit is obviously a poor city. We're not going to talk shit about the city of Detroit, but
Mhm.
how big to the city of Detroit that would be to have
100%.
just a playoff run all the way through, and nope, nope. We got I mean, not I don't even need to get in that part about it being scripted or rigged, but yeah, no, yeah, it's obviously it should be a fireable offense. That
Yeah.
guy's been an awful ref for years,
Yeah.
and so have
Nothing's
many
done.
others that I can start naming. Um, God, what was that guy's name? Boger,
Yeah, yeah, he was
Jerome
horrific.
Boger. My
Jerome.
God,
Oh,
my
is he one of the
God.
worst? One of the worst.
Oh my God.
What about that one black official 3 years ago, 4 years ago in the 2020 Cardinals game that was just taking light years to spot the ball?
I think that was him, wasn't it?
Well,
I feel like it
I
was
don't
either
know if it
him.
was him. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
it was either
But
like him or like Sean Smith. Sean Smith is awful too.
but they,
Um,
the Cardinals were in a no huddle trying to hit a game winning
yep,
drive. They're at the 20-yard
yep.
line, and you just got the official just taking his time. Everyone's set and the ball's not down.
I was going off. I was going
He was.
off.
I had the video.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, but yeah, I mean, and what are your thoughts on that officiating?
See, it's just terrific. It's terrific on
Yeah,
all ends. And we
it's
were at the
awful.
casino where they have Barstool Sportsbook there, which is pretty cool. We're at the casino finishing up the game, and the Lions scored, and people were going
One
crazy
bite in,
about
one
it.
bite.
Yep, yep, one bite, and
Yep.
they then they throw the flag, and it was uh what was the call? Illegal contact,
Just
illegal touching.
just ineligible man. Yeah.
And so then you had people were wondering like how it even really even made sense, and then all that came out. So I'm not surprised because the NFL doesn't hold any accountability.
No.
And officiating has been one of the biggest things that's held the league down over years. Years.
Yep. Yep.
So, But yeah, that's kind of what we did on New Year's. Quail lost $100. Go figure.
Yep.
And he was already up 100, but he had to play it all and he lost. So
Yeah. Oh
I,
man.
I lost 40.
Uh,
It is what it is. I stopped at 40, and I was glad I did. But
yeah.
it was fine. It was fine. Just really kept it low key. So on a New Year's Eve, what did Z do? Didn't did Barry enjoy his time? Did he have a steak?
Well, I was just working. I worked till 11:30. It was a busy day. It was a busy New
I
Year's Eve
believe it.
day.
I'm sure it was.
Um, I mean, I got off and then I sent you a video. I was heading home and then I was pretty much just watching all the Disney fireworks on the way home.
Yeah.
And then my God, I have a good friend Nick who lives in New York. I can't imagine going to Times Square on New Year's Eve.
Oh, Z nightmare. Absolute
How's that even
nightmare.
fun? How's that even
It,
fun?
it's not. There's no way
You
it
know,
is.
there's nothing fun about it.
I
You
mean,
know?
you're literally breathing down somebody's freaking spine.
Yep. Yep.
I mean,
And
think about how many people ripped ass out there
yeah,
that night.
that's the first thing that goes through man's head always. You know. Uh,
Well, make sure anybody watching, make sure you clean it.
yeah, make sure you clean it. Yeah, also make sure you guys know End uses wet wipes.
Yeah,
So
gets the job done. Gets
no,
the job
I
done.
mean,
It's not dry.
yeah, yeah. there's a shower right next to the toilet, and
The show sponsored by Z is sponsored.
yep, yeah, you're right. So you know what also kind of makes me mad on New Year's Eve is like I get we're all having a good time, but once it's like 3 in the morning, just knock off the fucking fireworks.
Yeah, go to bed.
You know what I mean? Like you're done.
Yeah,
Like you're not cool.
it's fun to
Like
count down. Hits midnight.
yeah,
Okay. But
yeah,
call it.
maybe 15, 20 minutes after, maybe let's go 30-minute grace period. That's it.
Yeah,
That's the
chalk it.
most,
It's
right?
it's time
And
to go to bed.
yeah, it's time to go to bed. It's time to wake up for the New Year's Day and just enjoy life. And
Yeah,
no,
it's another day, Z. It's another day. It doesn't
yeah,
nothing. It doesn't change.
God, I almost freaking flew out of my bed sheets and when it was 2:30 in the morning and a freaking
God, I could still see that, and I'm
uh
all I could hear is Z just going.
I
I'm
mean,
like,
and
come
flew.
on, guys.
Yeah. And just right out here on the road. I mean, just popping them that
Was
late.
Barry barking?
Barry doesn't like fireworks, so he usually like hides in the bathroom when they're going off. Yeah.
Z, you should just literally just throw a firecracker in there.
Yeah, throw a firecracker in there. That's Nathan Heintz, ladies and gentlemen. That is Nathan
Oh, that'd be
Heintz.
hilarious. It'd be
So,
hilarious.
well, anyways, hope you guys had a good New Year.
Yep.
Um,
First
hope you
episode of the
guys.
podcast in 2024.
Yep,
So had to
2024.
upgrade. Yep.
Yep.
We upgraded it with the outline. Hopefully you guys like it.
Yeah.
So Z and I we're gonna try to be consistent as we can with our uploads, at least just on a
Yep.
weekly basis.
Right. Absolutely. Um, and we have to get into it. I'm wearing my visor today.
Yep.
Right. It was a big day on Sunday. It was a big day for the Ravens. Second time franchise history, they locked up the number 1 seed.
Mhm.
Obviously, they locked up the division. And but I think if there's anything that came out of it, it was what we're going to talk about in this episode, and that's Lamar being the front runner for the MVP,
Mhm.
right? And if I'm going to have an opening dialogue to this
Floor's yours.
episode, yep, he's MVP. Don't care. I'm in a group chat where somebody said CMC, 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 right? And don't tell me it's stats. It's because it's not. Because obviously we're at this season of the NFL. Nothing is about stats at this point anymore. Okay. Um. So obviously we all know that clearly stats for this year's MVP is just not going to be it, right? And that's not always the case for an MVP. It's not always, oh wow, this guy put up 45 touchdowns and 5 picks. He's the MVP. You know what I mean? I remember when the Suns went to the finals and Chris Paul only averaged like 14 points and 9 assists, and he was considered like a top 5 MVP candidate. You know,
Mhm.
Lamar is no different. Lamar is no different with the Ravens. We're talking about 24 passing touchdowns, 7 interceptions, career high in passing yards, 5 rushing touchdowns. That's what we're working with here. Does that sound like an MVP number wise? No, of course not. But the generation of fans we live in now just simply look at those numbers and they'll be like, and also with it being Lamar Jackson, he's not respected. But they'll just look at those numbers and then just say he's not MVP. He is most definitely MVP. I don't understand how you can tell me he's not. And there's so many factors that go into it. One, right? Yes, you can make an argument for CMC. Don't tell me freaking Brock the Rock, right? Guy's not MVP,
Broccoli and
right?
cheese. I don't
Guy's
know.
not MVP.
Andrew might think that.
Awful. By the way, guys, that's another thing I'll get heated about. That guy we showed, that freaking goldfish. that that freaking goldfish at the beginning of the episode. He he told me that Tua and Purdy was better than Lamar.
Yeah.
He even said Herbert. I'm not taking Herbert over Lamar. Get the fuck out of here. Anyways, to stay on track, and I'll just say your opening dialogue. To me, Lamar Jackson's MVP, because I want to stay composed about this. Lamar Jackson's MVP, just on the simple fact of one, what are the Ravens without him? Sure, you can say what are the Niners without CMC, but what are the Ravens without Lamar, right? And two, the competition that he's had to go against the last, let's say, last fourth of the season, and he has lit up top defenses. He has outplayed other MVP candidates, CMC, Tyreek Hill, right? And those guys are no joke. I'm not disrespecting those guys, but I don't know how you can say Lamar is not MVP. With besides the fact of just straight up looking at his stats, but then I'm going to look at Tyreek stats. You're telling me 1,800 receiving yards is an MVP for just a wide receiver? We see that every year.
Mhm.
It's obviously great, but when's the last time a receiver won an MVP award? Can somebody tell me? Was it Jerry Rice? Was it Calvin? Maybe, I don't know.
Wasn't
Julio? I
Calvin.
can't. Yeah, I can't remember who the last MVP candidate was
I don't
for a
think I've
receiver.
ever.
What?
Yeah, I think MVP candidate wise, it might have been Antonio Brown that one year.
I don't think he won it though. I think it was maybe
No, no, no,
considered.
no, 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 no. There has not been a wide receiver that has not won it for however long we've been watching for.
Mhm.
But in terms of being a candidate, being in terms of odds wise, I mean Tyreek Hill's had his name in there throughout the year. Um,
Yeah,
but
all year.
Antonio Brown had his name in that till he got hurt one year. Calvin might have when he hit 2,000, but I think
Yep.
that's really it.
Yeah. So Tyreek is obviously considered, and then outside of CMC, I don't think there's another guy in the NFL that would be considered. I can't think of another guy off the top of my head. Um, Not Tua, not Purdy. Those guys. I mean, if those guys win the MVP, and then I'm just walking my fan base outside the NFL, then you know, I mean, what are we rewarding at that point? Then, so Lamar's MVP just based off the simple fact, and I will argue this till my last breath. Of did CMC carry the victory against the Ravens? No, they got slaughtered against the Ravens. Did Tyreek Hill carry a victory against the did Tyreek Hill carry the Dolphins to a victory against the Ravens? No, they got absolutely manslaughtered against the Ravens. And why? I'll tell you why. It's just because Lamar Jackson. Plain and simple. But plain and simple, the Ravens have gotten this far 13-3 because of Lamar Jackson. The Niners, you have a top 3 defense, right? With Miami, you have extremely underrated defense, great coach, right? You have a running back, Raheem Mostert, who leads the league in touchdowns, right? With Lamar, you've lost 2 running backs, J.K. Dobbins, Keaton Mitchell. You've lost your best tight end. You have a left tackle who's softer than a pillow. Okay, so that's at least my opening part to it. Lamar's MVP. I don't understand how he cannot be.
Z, before I start, would you say this is the worst MVP race you've ever seen?
Well, and if we're talking about that part of the story, then yes, it is definitely.
All right. Okay. So going into the season, I think the favorites to win the MVP this year were Mahomes, Allen, Hurts. You know, your typical, right?
Yep.
As the season was progressing, let's say come a few weeks ago, in my opinion, I think Dak was the leading guy going up to that point before Dallas started their struggles and um, crap like that. I think Dak, because really around the league in the NFL, their quarterback play's been bad, and I think that what Dallas was doing and Dak was being pretty efficient until he started settling down more. Dallas started to have issues. I think that he was probably the leading guy, and you also had McCaffrey and Tyreek Hill in that conversation. But yeah, you can't discredit what Lamar's done this year. Lamar hasn't lit up the stat sheet in the sense of what a Patrick Mahomes is going to do, what a Tom Brady, a Peyton Manning have done, what some other quarterbacks in the past have done. When you look at Lamar's numbers, they're really kind of pedestrian in the sense of they're not going to blow you away. They're not going to knock your socks off. Um, it's not like he had this ultimate career year. I mean, heck, I think he had a better year in 2019, and he'll probably never replicate that year. That was a season that a lot of people probably aren't going to see again that year from a quarterback and really all around what he did. But you can't discredit what he's done and the point Z has mentioned with what he's lost and making the most of it. And I think the thing that stands out the most is really just how the Ravens are just manhandling these other teams. These other teams like the Dolphins, the Niners, the Bengals, before Burrow got hurt, um, the Lions earlier in the year. Those are 4 teams right there that were viewed as higher end playoff teams. And these last 3 weeks or so, especially for the Ravens, just absolutely annihilating these guys. Like, it hasn't even been in the ballpark.
No.
It speaks a lot of volumes.
Mhm.
And like what Z said, made a great point. You had guys like McCaffrey and Tyreek Hill who faced the Ravens as good as the Ravens defense has been this year. They weren't carrying anything. They didn't even show up. Lamar, on the other hand, like what Z said, he still had to go against a great 49ers defense. Now I don't think their defense it's not, you're not going to put it in a conversation of defenses from previous seasons, but it's still pretty good. It's Super Bowl caliber defense and still manhandled them. You look at some of the other teams that's happened to. I mean, who else have they played on their schedule this year? They've
Well,
played,
Jags on the road, they beat them by
yeah,
15 points.
right. So yeah, Jacksonville on
Or
the
6.
road, who has been a division favorite,
Yep.
who has been in the playoffs. They might not make the playoffs. They still could miss the
Mhm.
playoffs, but
Yeah.
they were healthy.
They
They
beat
were 2 games
sorry, go
above
ahead.
500, and they were also in a position to possibly be a 1 seed.
Yep. They beat Seattle 38-3.
Yeah, and that was an annihilation, and we can look at
Yep.
Seattle, and they're kind of just a middle of the pack team,
Mhm.
but still, that was and Seattle has quite a bit of guys on offense.
Rams, to beat the
Yeah.
Rams.
So,
Obviously, that
the
was a much closer game, but
yeah. But really with the Ravens is that this back end of their schedule going into the year has been what everybody knew is gonna be the toughest part, and they haven't even made it in the way of where it was even a competitive game. So
yep.
you can't underestimate that. You can't underestimate Lamar Jackson's effect on that. Lamar played probably the best game of his season last week,
Mhm.
and I think too,
You can maybe say his career. You can maybe say his career.
possibly,
Mhm.
possibly he was fantastic. Yeah, I mean, he's had some good games though, passing wise. So it's up there, but sure, you can take into account. Well, you look at Mahomes and Allen and these other guys like that. They're having down years. Yeah, well, still like okay, that's on them. They're not having a typical type season that would make them an MVP type guy. So it's kind of really irrelevant to the conversation. But Ravens going 13-3, really kind of looking as a Super Bowl favorite. Really just this force to reckon with that it doesn't really seem like some of these higher end teams can't even overcome themselves. It says a lot. And I would agree with Z. I think Lamar is the MVP, especially with what the Ravens have been doing toward the end of the season here. And yeah, like I'm not going to sit and say that Lamar's had this fantastic season individually, but it goes a long way with him beating these teams that are also Super Bowl caliber teams, and it hasn't even been close.
Right.
And I think at this point of how the MVP race has been, he's done more in terms of not just winning, but factoring into those wins and just being the biggest focal point of them really manhandling these higher end football teams, and you can't look past that. So Lamar's going to win it, and he's definitely over McCaffrey and Tyreek Hill because that's probably your three guys in the running right there. And Lamar has factored more into his team's winning than those guys have. I mean, it really simple as that.
Right. So a couple things to pick up off real quick. So first, yeah, this is definitely obviously not going to be an MVP race to remember for the ages. That's
No, it's
for
not.
sure.
No, it's not.
Okay. Okay. It's not. You know what I mean? You know,
Yeah.
there's obviously been seasons in the past where you can make an argument between Mahomes and Allen, um, and Lamar when he had a historic season 2019. So it's not going to be a memorable MVP race by any means.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember when CJ Stroud was up for MVP.
Yeah, that wasn't going to happen. It's not
Yeah,
happening for rookie
all right,
quarterback
relax, relax.
unless like the only time a rookie quarterback's going MVP is like if they just break these records and
Yep.
they're just a fantastic football team. Like the Texans are
Yeah.
9-7.
um, but another thing to piggyback off Lamar Jackson, and if you're going to hate on just us talking about Lamar Jackson, is because it's because he's going to be the MVP,
Mhm.
right? Sure, we could talk about CMC. Sure, we could talk about Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Uh, but like, what is there to talk about? I mean, we know their statistics. We know McCaffrey
See,
has
there's
over
nothing to
20,
talk about. McCaffrey's going to win the offensive player of the year. That's what he's
and
going to
it's
win.
well deserved. It's well deserved.
And yeah, it is. It is. Justin
Yeah.
Jefferson won it last year. McCaffrey's been a
Yep.
huge part of that Niners team.
Yep.
But you factor in everything. The Niners have lost some bad games this year. They have
Yep.
lost to a couple higher end football teams. And there's more to work with San Francisco than just Christian McCaffrey.
Didn't they
With the
lose to Cleveland
Ravens,
when? Didn't they lose to
yeah, good.
Cleveland when DTR was starting?
Yeah, they did.
No,
But
obviously, we're not
yeah,
throwing all that on McCaffrey.
yeah, it's not
Um,
all on him, but it's just the
no,
fact of Lamar's contributions to these Raven wins has been very impressive.
right, right. So again, just throwing out Tyreek Hill out of the equation. If you're telling me if he should win MVP, then why didn't
We're gonna
Justin Jefferson?
root for our
Uh,
home team.
no, my God, that just ruined the whole episode. That just ruined
Yeah,
the whole entire
relax, Z,
episode.
relax.
Right. What are we rooting for? Rooting for
Yeah,
last place,
yeah, it's pretty
rooting
much
for
what we're
thinking we're
doing, Z.
worlds
It's what we're
rooting
doing.
thinking we're World Series contenders year after year,
Not
and then
happening.
and then we're 2 weeks in, then we give up on the season.
Now the goal needs to be they won 76. The goal needs to be 80 plus.
Yeah. Okay, it's not sure how this turned into the Pittsburgh Pirates. So
It's all part of the fun, ladies and gentlemen. It's all part of the fun. If you're
yep.
not a part of it,
Yeah.
then get out of here.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're
All right,
right.
Z,
So
continue. Go ahead.
I can't remember what I was talking about because I was disturbed by just a nuisance. Uh, so Justin Jefferson.
Yep.
So that should just that a comparison right there and should instantly take Tyreek Hill out of the conversation because then why wouldn't Justin Jefferson win it last year? Guy had an unbelievable season,
Yeah.
and it was better than Tyreek's Hill season this year. It was. It
Right.
was. So like why didn't he win the MVP last year then? Offensive Player of the Year is that just one award or is that for both conferences? I can't remember.
For
I
say
think
that
it's just
again.
one for Offensive Player of the Year.
No, it's for the whole league.
Okay, so you can make a good argument between Tyreek or Christian McCaffrey on who should win that one. Either one of them is well deserved. Um, but and then the other thing in reference to Lamar Jackson is that ever since his first MVP year, I don't want to say first, but because I'm not anticipating he's going to win the second one, or I am anticipating, but I'm not going to predict at the moment. or not even predict it, guarantee it. There we go. I'm not going to guarantee he's going to win it. But in 2019, when he won the MVP, right, we know what kind of quarterback he was. He ran for over 1,200 rushing yards, right? He did. I don't think he even hit 3,000 passing yards that year. I think he was maybe just over it. I can't remember.
Mhm,
He had 36 passing touchdowns, which is a lot, and he has 6
mhm,
picks, right?
mhm,
That alone is obviously just unbelievable stats. But we know what kind of quarterback he was. We know what the Ravens excelled in. They had a historic running game that year,
mhm.
right? You had 2 guys rushing over 1,000 yards. When was the last time that happened?
Right.
So, um, and then your backup ran for almost 800.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's not the point. The point is that ever since that season, and people have been, you know, admiring, and people have been, cheering on Lamar Jackson's downfall because there's been seasons where he's been hurt. There's been seasons where his play has gone down. There's
Mhm,
clearly been seasons where he has not replicated that play.
mhm,
And but what do we hear every offseason and every other week in the NFL? Can he last? Can he develop into a pocket passer? Can he play into his 30s? Yada yada yada. All that bullshit about Lamar Jackson that we hear each and every offseason as Ravens fans. And I'm sure he hears too. He has developed into that kind of guy that all those people would talk about.
mhm.
Right. And now that he is that guy, he doesn't get the credit for it. Like, it just makes no sense. He's one of the most disrespected players I've ever seen in the NFL. He's what's funny enough is he is so good that he is still rushed for almost 900 yards.
Mhm,
Still almost 900 yards, which is unbelievable.
mhm.
But you sit here and you tell me Nick Wright, Stephen A. Smith, Colin Coward. I mean, I can go on and on. Nathan Hines.
Yeah, yeah, me.
Right?
And I know you watch all those guys, Z.
Yeah, you're right. You're Yeah, Emmanuel Acho, awful.
Yeah, he's trash.
Awful. So you hear all these guys just talk about like how he needs to develop as a passer, and they say it every off season. They'll probably say it again this off season. But the point is that he's become it, and you've seen it at the end of the season, and he just doesn't get the credit for it. I just don't get it. I don't get it, and I think he like I say, I think he will win the MVP just based off his simple quarterback play. His running game is obviously still a huge part, but just based off his simple quarterback play, he's gaining respect week by week for it. Colin Coward loves him. Richard Sherman hates on him every single week. No idea why. Shannon Sharp is a joke.
Z, we've known
He's
that for a long time.
he's either with Lamar Jackson or not. But anyways, the point is that Lamar's a complete different quarterback than what he was in 2019. Would you agree?
Yeah, he is. He is. I think too with how Lamar is now. I don't know. I feel like he's just settling down. Like he's settling down more. Like 2019 was really crazy, and then he was having injury problems. But I think the not uh or maybe trying to get away a little bit more from that run first type quarterback, or starting to take off when there's a sense of pressure, and trying to transition your game a little bit more, I think is for the better. And I think he's done that a little bit this year. Because going into this year, the biggest concern was him staying healthy. The last 2 years, he hasn't been healthy. He's gotten hurt.
Mhm.
It's hurt that obviously hurt the Ravens both seasons. So he had a lot to prove this year, and I feel like that
Got
this
his
type of
contract.
yeah, yeah, and so this season could be kind of a maybe for the future a typical Lamar Jackson season. Maybe maybe you'll see some years where his passing stats are maybe a little bit more up, but I think him transitioning his game into more like I think has started to become a little bit of an underrated passer. And before I was somebody that criticized a lot of him as a passer, and uh, a little bit earlier on in his career, and that's something he really needs to transition more into, and I think he has. So this was a season he definitely needed. Um, don't know how the rest of the year is going to play out for him for the playoffs. We'll see,
Yeah, it's a whole
but
different story.
that's
Yep.
a whole nother story. Another
Mhm.
big critique with him has been his playoffs and playoff lack of wins, lack of success there. et cetera, et cetera. But that's not really the focal point of this video. But I've been impressed with him in the sense of him starting to kind of move his game a little bit in a different direction than what it has been. And I think maybe that might help him even stay healthier. Not that he was getting laid out and hit all the time as a runner and that was causing his injuries, but I think when you scale back on some of that, um, and scale back a little bit of that wear and tear as a runner, I think that will definitely help him. So he's gonna win it. There's no question about it. But it's been a pretty garbage quarter MVP just race in general from everywhere.
Yeah.
The league hasn't been good this year. Offense hasn't been good. Quarterbacks hasn't been good. I don't even think really there's been too many running backs that have stood out this year. Um, a lot of that is due to the way defense has to play. A lot of that's due to just lack of talent. So that's just the
Injuries,
yeah,
injuries.
injuries. That's just the state of the NFL. And honestly, Z, I think sports all around, I think is honestly just decreasing each year for the
Mm.
worst. I really do. Look at
You're not
baseball.
out
Look at the
there.
changes made there. Look at the
You're not out
Dodgers.
there.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not out there. Z, everything that these guys do, there's a reason that there's deserved criticism.
Nope. Paid millions, and
NBA
paid
NBA's
millions.
falling apart. NHL is just a dying breed, and baseball is just in a horrific situation economically.
Yeah, economically.
It is. You can't tell me you're different.
Stay on topic, and stay on topic here.
Yep. So I don't know, Z, what the Ravens will do in the playoffs. If you want to talk a little bit about that, because you said earlier in the show that Lamar's going to be the Super Bowl MVP.
I did say that. I really hope that doesn't come back and bite me in the ass. This is recorded.
Well, that will
It's
be
gonna.
clipped. That will be
Yeah,
clipped.
I will. And it's gonna be on the internet. So, uh, no, I'm not gonna get into their playoff predictions. That's not what this video is. It's just a whole side of the conversation that people hate on Lamar Jackson for, and they won't stop hating on him until he wins. And I'm not gonna disagree with that with those side of haters for Lamar Jackson. I get it, you know. Um, because as great as you can be in the regular season, doesn't matter until you hit, January and February.
Right.
Uh, just something I always admire, about watching the guy is like how he always stays composed. He never gets ahead anytime he's in a press conference. Just anytime he throws 5 touchdowns, he's sitting there in the interview and he's just like he's not excited about it. He's not even like smiling. It's kind of like Jalen Hurts energy.
Yeah.
Except like Jalen, like I don't know. I just admire that about Lamar, just the fact that he never puts his teammates down. One of the most passionate guys out there on the field. Um, Obviously many players are like that, but if you don't know that about Lamar Jackson already, then I'm not sure what else to say. I mean, uh, he's one of those guys that just gives everything into winning a game,
Mhm.
and I'm not going to say he's the one simple reason why the Ravens are 13-3. Um, Obviously you have to give credit to their the development of their new offense with Todd Monken. Zay Flowers has been a phenomenal rookie. Odell's been a great veteran presence. Isaiah Likely is a baller. So, uh, obviously Lamar has his help, and he's had it other than losing a few guys here and there, just like
Yep.
any team would. He, he's had guys to help him out. But again, how different would the Ravens be with Tyler Huntley? So,
Mhm.
yeah, the final prediction to this video is Nate and I both predict Lamar Jackson win the MVP. I don't think there's any ifs, ands, or buts. CMC will be second. Tyreek Hill will be third. So CMC will win the Offense Player of the Year, which I think he
Right.
should.
Yeah. Right.
Uh, don't tell me Raheem Mostert. Don't tell me that. My God.
See, I have a
Uh,
feeling Raheem Mostert is going to be in Jamal Williams territory next season.
I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see it.
What one
Yeah.
of those just huge years for a guy that's been a decent running back too in the league, and see you later.
Yeah. Um, I mean, again, we won't talk about what the predictions are, but what would you expect? Does the MVP get announced before the playoffs start? I can't remember.
It is usually after because they
After,
do that whole entire sports show on ESPN, and
right? The NFL
everybody
honors or
gets their
whatever.
reward. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if playoffs have an impact on somebody winning an MVP. I don't know.
They
I don't really think
shouldn't.
so.
It's a
Yeah, they
regular
should
season award.
definitely. But what what do you think Lamar Jackson winning was with us predicting him winning his second MVP, which puts him in elite territory?
Mhm.
What is the next step for him outside of the basic answer of winning the Super Bowl? What does he have to do to get there?
What does he have to do to get to Super Bowl?
Just to get over that hump, just to win it.
Mm, not be a moron. Let me just
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
not have one
I
of
mean,
those Lamar Jackson dud games.
definitely.
You
I mean,
know,
it's funny, but you're not wrong. Yeah,
I'm not wrong, Z. We've seen it.
yeah,
Yeah. So Lamar, if he wins MVP, it's definitely great territory in the sense of being a quarterback who's won MVP twice in the NFL. But really, to get to the Super Bowl, kind of the next step is you got to wait and see. Maybe not even that. Like it really, with what the Ravens have done, it shouldn't even really matter who they're, excuse me, matched up against. I think really what it takes is you have the Ravens defense, which has been a lot better than a lot of people thought it was going to be coming into the year. But I think just being really finding himself finally start molding into a true quarterback leader and a guy that you can start to look at as somebody not talent wise like other quarterbacks, but somebody where like that when you have a Drew Brees in there, you have a Big Ben in there, you have a Brady, a Manning in there. You got, I mean, heck, even a Mahomes, I guess. But that like, no matter what situation you're in, and especially if the Ravens are in a situation playoff wise where you can look at Lamar and say he's going to win us the game. And there's been like Lamar to this point hasn't been a guy that I could sit there and say he's a guy I look at and no matter what we're looking like in the fourth quarter, how much we're down by, those other quarterbacks named, those are guys that you could look at coming in the fourth quarter and you have 99% confidence you're going to win that football game. And I think Lamar can mold himself into a quarterback where you can look at him like that. That might be just something where that starts to become the next step because not only is he won MVP, and of course he's going to have start having some playoff success to kind of get his name up there. But these quarterbacks in the past that are considered some of the best, I mean, heck, even in Aaron, I forgot to name him, but some of the best, like those are quarterbacks that you look at in playoff situations, no matter the circumstance or how bad their defense is playing, they're just going to carry the whole entire load on their back and win this game. And Lamar
yeah.
hasn't been a quarterback that I've looked at over the years and I haven't really been able to say that. And now this is the time to do it. If this is the Ravens' time to go through the playoffs and get to a Super Bowl and possibly win, because not just how good that they have beaten some of these other Super Bowl favorite teams this year, and not just how dominant they've been and how good they've been on both sides of the football, but this is a AFC that is very watered down. This is an AFC that's very injury riddled. And if they cannot win 2 playoff games to get to the Super Bowl, it's just a massive failure. It's the biggest failure in John Harbaugh's career, 100%. And it might be something that Lamar might not ever recover from, Z, unless if he would ever go on a Super Bowl run again. Like, really, this is. So I think as I answer your question, the next step is Lamar to be that guy in the playoffs that you can look at like some of these other previous quarterbacks and be able to say, not worried one bit, he's going to win these games. He's going to win this. He's going to win this game. And he needs to put this playoff run on his shoulders to do that. Now, will the Ravens defense help out with that? Absolutely they could, because they've been that good this year. But this is Lamar's time. And if he wants to get his name up there and even more respected than what it is now, this is the time to do it. This is the year.
Yeah. So I think you nailed it right on the money. Nailed it right on the money there. And if I'm gonna quickly piggyback off it so I don't lose my train of thought, is clearly with what N is saying, it's gonna bring an immense amount of pressure,
Mhm,
right? Just like any team. Just like any team in
mhm.
the playoffs. And just like any number one seed that goes into any sport in the
Yeah,
playoffs, right?
yep,
Again, no difference for Lamar Jackson winning a second MVP. Okay. Um, immense amount of pressure, right? And all eyes are gonna be on you, regardless who you're playing in that second round.
yep,
The second you get out there, a lot of people are, and you're gonna hear everything that week. You're gonna hear it all, right? Because once we pass this game against the Steelers, and once you guys get your rest week in the first round of the playoffs, once that matchup comes with whoever you're playing, you're gonna hear it. You're gonna hear everything, right? And the pressure that's gonna come with that game, just getting that monkey off your shoulders of let's get past the second round, let's get this loose, and we're in this AFC Championship game at home. We can do what we do,
yep.
you know. And by the way, the Ravens have never ever had an AFC Championship game at home, never.
Yeah, which
So
they've
um,
been,
maybe
they've
maybe in
been
2001, maybe 2001, I
yeah,
can't remember,
maybe,
but
but yeah, I mean, it's a long time, even though they're probably the youngest team in the NFL, that's still a long time.
Houston's youngest team,
Houston, right, right, right.
yeah,
So,
but
Ravens coming into the league in what, 99,
no, 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 no. They
98,
came in 96, 96.
96. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Uh,
96, the Ravens came into the NFL, and that's, um, I mean, you're getting close to 30 years on that one.
yeah,
So, that's a long time to not have a home AFC Championship game.
yeah. So, what I'm saying, just piggybacking off what Ed said, there's an immense amount of pressure. So, what I would want to see with you having all that pressure, I just want to see you play like yourself, you know, and that's one issue where obviously so many teams have. And I'm not
Mhm,
going to go start naming a bunch, but play like yourself, play like how you know how to win, right? Like you've come adversity in your career. You've had games this year where like you've gone against these good teams. Now it's gonna be different. Like you might have a rematch against Miami. You might have another matchup against Cleveland or Pittsburgh or Jacksonville. Teams that have seen you before. And there is zero possible way that you're gonna be down on them again. It's not gonna happen.
mhm,
It's not gonna happen.
mhm.
Right? Play like yourself, play with your confidence because you're gonna feel it regardless how much you're up by.
Right,
Because you could be up by 17, boom, one fumble, and then in halfway through the third quarter, and that's going to change everything,
right.
right? So I want to see him play as how he does. I don't want to see him change. I don't want to see him crumble under pressure. If you're down
Mhm.
by 10, you're down by 10. You can come back easily.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Um,
what makes you great.
yeah, yeah.
In those
Now,
moments in playoff games, that's exactly what makes you great. And all those guys
now,
I've named have done it.
now, does he have to go down by 15 points in a playoff game for him to gain respect from people? Yeah, probably because people are going to find different ways to criticize it. Oh,
Unless there's
well,
just complete dominance just all over the place, if it's
yep,
just
yep.
freaking
Um,
45 to 20 every game. But I
yes.
don't think that, like, the Ravens can maybe win a game like that, but
Mhm.
playoffs are different.
Yeah, so then the final part to the Lamar Jackson equation in is, do you play him on Saturday?
I'm gonna say no. I'm not risking it. It's not
Mm,
worth it. It's not worth it. The Ravens are gonna have that week and the following week off until they prepare for that divisional game in the playoffs. It's not worth it, in my opinion, man. It's not. I get the factor of just keeping guys fresh, but think Lamar is somebody who's um, as elusive as he is, and in my opinion, the way he's played these last few weeks in the league, I wouldn't really have too much concern over it. I think the only concern would just be what he's done in the playoffs prior, and if
right.
he's not playing for a couple weeks, if that's something where it could maybe stunt him and stuff like that, but it's still not worth it. The Ravens
Right.
are in too good of a spot. It's not worth it.
Yeah, I think
That's just my opinion.
I'm actually gonna disagree. I'm actually gonna disagree with you. I think just based off the fact that all Ravens fans and even the Ravens have been petrified by what has happened in the playoffs to them with Lamar Jackson.
Mhm.
And um, now, do you play in the whole game? Absolutely not. Obviously not. I think you probably play him for a drive or two. That's probably what you do. Anybody that has a nagging injury on the Ravens, you sit them down. Kyle Hamilton, Ronnie Stanley, sit them down. No work, get them out of there. But the heart and soul of your team, just so you don't see him coming in rusty like he was against Tennessee in 2019. Yeah, yeah. I say you play him for a couple drives, and that's it. And after that, Tyler Huntley, it's your time. So if you guys have any thoughts on that, let us know because it's a question that John Harbaugh's been asked the whole week. He's not answered yet. He has not answered the
Mhm.
question of if Lamar is going to be playing. I think he will. I think he will just for a couple drives. Obviously, there's some pros and cons to that, just because some people will say like, okay, well, just go 50%. If you see TJ Watt coming at you, just throw the ball away, right? If you have an open lane out on the field and you
Yeah,
just
they
want to
they
start.
don't need to win this game. This game's irrelevant, really.
N-
So,
No, yeah, and I get the conservative part. Hand the ball off to Gus Edwards. Oh, guess what? You get a hit on your knee, just go down.
yeah.
Like like it's just I get that part. Just I also the reason why I say one or two drives is that if you do that for a whole half, then the way you play offense actually, I don't want you to get out of groove. And I don't know. It's a tough question, but we don't get paid to make
Yeah.
those decisions.
N
So
No, we don't, Z. No, we don't.
no, we don't.
So, that's
We don't.
why those guys get highly criticized. So, just the same
um,
way as we would. But yeah, that's mine and Z's stance on the MVP race, the MVP situation
the
in today's in this season. Z, give me your quick thoughts on how you have felt about this NFL season this year from a overall general standpoint, not the Ravens season, just the league, the season as a whole across the board.
where are my sleeping
Because
pills?
you guys know my thoughts. Z knows my thoughts. I've been very vocal about that on my shows. So let's hear what Z has to say.
And where are my sleeping pills? That's all I gotta say.
Z, would you say there's a little Jimmy out there that thinks this is the greatest thing he's ever watched?
He's watching Baker Mayfield play every week, and and thinking that he's Tom Brady 2.0 for the Buccaneers,
Right,
and
right.
he
Oh,
should be
Baker's
in the
MVP.
yeah, yeah. There's some out there. There's
Yeah,
some
it
out
probably
there.
is. Yeah.
Um,
Give me your
happy New Year to
thoughts. Give me your
everybody.
thoughts.
Well, yeah, my thoughts. And my thoughts are pretty straightforward. I mean, the officiating's been more poor than it's ever been. Um, and it's not even that
That's
way.
saying a
There's like
lot.
new refs. Yeah, and these refs have been around for such a long time. And it's just
Mhm.
inexcusable of how just fucking stupid they are.
Yep.
Um,
I'll never
oh,
forget
they
the
ref.
lane getting an earful from Mike Tomlin.
She showed me out there and showed me out
And
there.
there's a reason
Yep.
Z why her ear was getting pounded.
It's just the product's been dry. Injuries have been a major part of that. Officiating has been a major part of that. Uh, and there's there's parts to it that coming in the season, there were so many things to be hyped about. Maybe we were overhyped about, Aaron Rodgers on the Jets, and multiple other examples. But
Mhm.
just obviously, it was just much disappointment for many teams. Bryce
Yep.
Young, no fun to watch as number one pick.
Right.
Um, nobody cares one bit about him. They won 2 games, so
Yep.
yeah. I mean, it's been boring. So I hope this last week is fun. I
Yeah.
hope the playoffs are fun. I'm gonna enjoy the last month or so while we have it, and I'm gonna try to enjoy it because I'm gonna probably be stressing out for the next month. So
Yeah. Well, Z, it's 1 week at a time. But I said this before the season started that these teams were not going to be as good as what they were. All I was hearing, oh, the AFC is a juggernaut. This is the best the AFC's been. And just look at it. Just look at it. You have a little bit of injuries, but you had a lot of teams that were disappointing. Denver, Denver was a
Yep.
big disappointment. A lot of people with Sean Payton coming in and being able to coach with Russell Wilson, and he's benched. He's out of there next year. You
Yep.
look at the Chargers, another failure of a season for them. That's not a
Yep.
surprise. The Chiefs are
Yep.
not nearly as good as people thought they were going to be.
Yep.
Buffalo still can miss the playoffs.
Yeah.
Buffalo could still miss. They lose Sunday night, they're out. They are out. You look at Jacksonville. People thinking, oh, Lawrence going to take another step in year 3.
Yawn.
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 Jacksonville's going to win 12 games. The Jets
Yep.
with Aaron. The list goes on. The list
Yeah.
goes on. And I knew, because it never happens. It never works out that way. Not everything, because when you look at it, when you looked at the AFC at face value for what it was this offseason, yeah, it looked great. But let's be realistic. Guys are going to get hurt. Guys aren't going to play as well. Teams get better. Teams get worse. It's never going to be at the point where everything works out and stacks itself out. You really thought the Dolphins, Bills, Jets, Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, Ravens, Browns, Bengals, Steelers. That's 10 teams right there.
Yep.
Jacksonville, and who else am I missing?
Anthony Richardson on the
Denver.
Colts.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
12, 13 teams in the AFC. You're telling me everything's going to go right for those teams?
The whole conference. The whole conference
The
then.
whole conference. Everything's going to go right. Everything's going to go right. You know, the worst team in the AFC is going to win 8 games.
Yeah. Yeah.
Give me a
I guess
break.
everyone's going 8-9.
Everybody's going 8-9. So give me a break.
Yeah.
Give me a break. But yeah, the league's dry. The league's hurting rule-wise. It's hurting official-wise. It's hurting talent-wise. And hopefully things can change a little bit next year. I don't expect that. But we love the NFL, but it's just not where it used to be. And hopefully as time goes on, that's something that can change. Don't expect it to happen too much next year. Maybe product-wise, it could get a little better. But Z, who do you think are with this AFC race here and the final race for the playoffs being next week? What do you think the final bracket will look like? Not of who's going to play who, but just this wild card race going on here.
Buffalo or Miami will obviously get one of the wild cards. No question. And then, so who's the 5th wild card in the AFC? I always forget.
Right
I
now,
think it's Buffalo. I think it's Buffalo right now.
It is Buffalo's 5th wild card. Indianapolis is the 2nd wild card. And the last wild card is, or no. Cleveland is the 5th wild card.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Cleveland's the 5th wild card, and they pretty much have that locked up. The Colts, I believe, are the 2nd, and I think the Bills are the last wild card.
I'm just gonna stick with it. I'm just gonna stick with the exact same list. Except I do take the Texans taking over the Colts because I think if they're win, they're in. So I'm gonna take the Texans winning it. And yeah, I mean, so after the playoffs are set, Ed and I will do our predictions for the playoffs, which will be an interesting video. So stay tuned for that. NFC is already pretty much set, and they don't talk about the NFC. But yeah, once that playoff schedule gets released, then we'll put out our predictions.
Yeah. I'm gonna say Jacksonville does not make it. I'm gonna say Titans beat them. Trevor Lawrence might be out again. Jacksonville chokes it. Or Texans win their division.
Nice.
That's what I think. I think the Steelers could possibly get in if they win Saturday. They either need the Titans or the Dolphins to win, and that is a possibility to happen. With this little bit of a resurgence they have on offense with Mason Rudolph, I think it'd be a little fun to see that happen, but it's hard sometimes. The Steelers have done kind of damage to themselves with losing those 2 home games to 2 win football teams, and you decided to stick with Mitch Trubisky for 3 weeks. So you did it to yourself. The Steelers are injury riddled, but so are many other teams as the season has gone on. And Z, I want to get your question as a Steeler fan here. What would you do going in the offseason with their quarterback situation?
Well, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about that one yet. I'd rather
give me a brief thing on what you'd want to do. I want to hear it because this has been a topic of conversation for their organization the last 2 weeks?
Well, I think I have the same exact answer to it. I think it's so unpredictable, but I think if I gave any part of what I think they would do, God, I just don't know. I just
What
really
would
don't
you
know.
do? I'm not what you think they'll do because it is
Mhm.
unpredictable right now. You have to wait and see how as you step into the offseason, how things settle in. But what would you do? If you were a Steeler fan, what would you like to see?
I would go for a quarterback that's currently in the NFL. I'm not going for the draft.
Okay. So
You've
just
completely
completely
failed.
go in a new direction at quarterback.
Yep. You've completely failed with Kenny Pickett. I don't need a draft or trade up for another one.
Mhm.
Um, like I brought up Kirkland many times, and I don't know if and I don't know if that'll become
Kirkland
true.
Cummins, Kirkland Cummins.
Yep. You have Justin Fields, you got Russell Wilson, you got all these guys that you can name that are good. I don't think the Bears will get rid of Justin Fields, but who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
Um,
No, I agree.
I
I'm at a spot where I would like to just see them go in a different direction at quarterback, and I feel like that's going to be my stance throughout the offseason, to be honest with you.
yep, yep.
And it's not out of a way of where they have to tear anything down. It's out of a way that you just recognize that you messed up in the draft. It's hard to find quarterbacks in the draft. Um, a lot of teams have missed quarterbacks in the first round. It is what it is, and it's not that Kenny's career's over, but it's a situation of where he's had 25 starts already, and there hasn't really been much shown in any type of way that you can look at and say that these are a handful of good things he's done, but he needs either A, more time, or B, new coaching. And he hasn't done A, B, and C. And that's, to me, the biggest thing that sticks out to me as to why I'd like to just go in a different direction. I know, but I know that he's going to be in year 3, and you need to be patient. I've been an advocate of patience for him, but the guy's going to be 26 years old next year, and it's just not good. It's just not good enough. I'm sorry.
Year
And
3 already 26.
yeah, I mean, Z, but you have quarterbacks. You have Bo Nix and you have Michael Penix coming into the draft this year, who are going to be first round picks and are going to be 20 and are 24.
Yep.
So that's
Awesome.
that's the same thing. Jane Daniels is 23. He'll be 24 in December, and then Caleb Williams and Drake May are 22. So that's kind of the thing. But I'm with you. I would like to see just a different direction. That's what I like to see. That there's talent there. You do what you got to do with your coaching. You cut your dead salary, your dead weight. You bring in who you got to bring in, and you just go in a different direction. I'm with Z on that, and I feel like
Mhm.
that's how I stand. I talked about that on my show, so that will be a topic of conversation for Steeler fans. For my show, it'll be a topic of conversation as we talk about the NFL offseason, because that's always a big thing on this channel. But I wanted to get Z thoughts as a fan myself. I wanted to hear his quick opinion on what he would personally do
Mm.
with that, because that's kind of the big thing that's going on.
Well, enjoy Mac Jones.
Yeah, Mac Jones. Yeah,
We might not
I'd
hear
rather
for
have Mason Rudolph.
we might be seeing we might be seeing N jump off a bridge if Mac Jones
Oh,
gets traded
I'd
to
be
the
Z. I
Steelers.
mean, that's just franchise suicide. Like really is.
Oh,
It really
man.
is. But it's actually gonna be, I think this NFL offseason is actually gonna be really fun. And I say that because I have talked about this with other people. There's about 8 to 10 teams that could have new head coaches. There's about 8 to 10 teams that could have a new starting quarterback. And I think
Yep.
it's going to make for a lot of conversation. The NFL offseason is always fun,
Mhm.
but the offseason is too long. The offseason is too long. These guys don't need 6 months of rest. I mean, seriously. Like they really don't.
You're not out there, and you're not out there. You
Yeah,
don't
I'm
know
not
what
out
it's
there. I'm
like.
not out
You don't
there.
know how
No,
much
no,
wear and
no.
tear goes on their body.
Yeah.
So,
But one day a week for 60 minutes. Give me a break. Give me a break.
I mean,
Don't care. Don't
I
care.
mean, N thinks they're working like an office job. N thinks they wake up.
But Z,
They just
6
they.
months? 6 months to heal your ass?
I was thinking
Millions of
something.
dollars
I
go
got.
into this thing. 6 months.
We're gonna end on that. No, I got nothing else to say.
February,
Then.
March, April, May,
Yep.
June,
Yep.
July.
Yep. 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 It's not like they're not training, and it's like they're not practicing.
Well, what about the guy at Planet
You're
Fitness?
not doing anything. Yeah,
What
the
about the
guy
guy
playing
at Planet Fitness? Is he doing the same
the
thing?
guy playing Fitness. You haven't been into a gym in years, and you have a treadmill that looks like it's for a mini dog downstairs.
Yeah, yeah, for
So
a mini dog. Gets the job done, Z. Gets the job done. So I'm perfectly fine with it. Not dropping $500 on that.
well, I think that'll do it. I think we hit everything on the money there. And as this guy's sitting on his phone.
Yeah. I'm
So
reading just these from my other video. People freaking
yeah.
but yeah, guys, we're gonna end on that one. It was a topic conversation that Z and I plan to have. We're ending it at 11 o'clock here at night. You guys will be seeing this sometime during this week, but we will leave it there. There will be more conversation on the NFL playoffs once that's all official. So we will have a
Absolutely.
video next week set on that. Anything else? If you guys are interested in the comments to give some suggestions what you'd like us to talk about, feel free to do that. But other than that, guys, Happy New Year. Thank you all for your support who come
La la
in.
la.
Thank you for your support on the last video. And
No
as
more
you can
Christmas movies,
see,
Ed. No more Christmas movies. I know you're gonna be
nope,
sad for 11 months.
it's
They're
over.
overrated movies anyways. There's nothing
Yeah,
good to watch about them.
yeah.
Same
How are those
climax,
frying?
same
How
out.
are those frying pans? Those frying pans your mother got you for Christmas?
Yeah. Well, I thought we weren't gonna talk about that on the video.
Have you used one?
I haven't. It is pretty elite.
Yeah, it is pretty elite. So that's what Z got for Christmas: a set of frying pans for himself. So that's what
Non-stick.
that's what his mother got him. So we'll leave it
Yep.
there, guys. Happy New Year, and thank you all for your support.